Digital ID, very interesting topic. And I want to help you to connect some dots because a bunch of folks tell you, well, you should be worried and scared about digital ID. But if you don't explain it correctly to the people, if you don't explain it in a simple, relevant manner, then it's really hard to understand why digital ID is actually leading you toward enslavement. And by enslavement, we mean loss of control, loss of leverage, but mostly loss of choice. You won't have the choice anymore as you used to have it. Does that matter? Yeah, to some extent, especially when you actually can choose and access basic stuff that you need, like water, like electricity, like healthcare. So let's go into it. Let's go into this topic, and I hope that I explain it in a simple manner for you. So digital ID, from the moment you will be adopting it, will take you toward enslavement. Not at the beginning, but some time along the way, and it will be very hard to go back. It may be very hard to go back as you have your digital ID and this is all what you have. There is no more this in your pocket. There is only a phone with your ID, money linked to it, and your access rights. And let me explain you how all this is being done. So, loss of choice. The key idea is to get your access to goods and services through digital. We saw this during the trial run. The trial run was basically the pandemic. You want to go to the supermarket in a bunch of Western countries, you need to show your digital rights. Your digital rights are linked to your digital ID to some extent. And if you don't have this digital right, you cannot access the supermarket. So this was a very short sample of what you will live next permanently and for everything you need to deal with. Again, I will say it. It was a very small sample of what you will live next for everything you need to deal with. Everything. Food, supermarket, energy, transportation, moving, basically living, right? So this video assumes that you actually understand that we are going toward a context of full control. It makes this assumption. If you do not assume that, then please watch the other video inside Help Me to Understand in Peopleizer. I want you to be on the same page when I talk to you. So I will explain you how they are planning to achieve full control. From the moment you want full control over the population, it's a problem of integration. You want something to fit into something else. This is what I call integration. Fitting something into something else. Because if I control the thing I need to integrate you with, then if you integrate with that stuff, then from my perspective, I can control you. And it's very important to understand this. So if I control something and I need you to integrate with it, and then so from the moment you adopt that stuff, from my perception, I can control you. For instance, let's imagine I have a car and I control that car, and from the moment I get you inside my car, I think that I control you, right? It's a basic statement, but this is something to realize, because the thing they are trying to push you toward that they control is digital. So you want people to fit into digital. And what does that mean that people fit into digital? And how do you do this, right? So you tell them there is a virus and it's a perfect justification for isolating the people and to push them online. This is what we saw during the pandemic period. People migrated online. So you already own the media, the global institution, and the politician. And I'm assuming you know this, right? If you don't know this, please watch the other video where we explain that they already own, the elite and those who own the system already own the media, the politician, for instance, through the Young Global Leader program of the WEF, as well as global institutions that they have infiltrated and that don't serve actually public interest at all. So you use those people to actually push your message. People get scared. People isolate. People distance themselves from each other. And what do? Well, people go online because they think that they will regain control with each other by going online. It's a perfect strategy if you want to push people online. You just tell them that there's something that is dangerous and that they need to distance themselves from each other. At the end of the day, the whole thing was a scam, but it doesn't matter to the elites because the point is to reach the goal, the outcome. And you also deploy psychological tricks in relation to digital. What do? Fear. Well, digital and your digital ID is safer than your real ID, right? Your paper ID can be taken. And so digital is safer, you should have a digital ID. You cannot trust your paper ID. Well, I trust my paper ID since I'm born, right? It's like I always have it with me and it's totally fine. But no, it's not safe. So they make you believe that it is safer to have a digital ID. They also use the trick of the convenience. Well, digital is extremely convenient. And you need to adopt it. It's frictionless, it's effortless, it's convenient. They also hype digital. They constantly hype digital. Digital future, digital EU, digital whatever, right? And they make it very compelling using image that carry a lot of emotion. They play a lot on emotion. They actually make digital emotional and not anymore rational. Why? Because you take decision based on an emotion. So they really want to emotionally load digital as something you see positively, right? As something you actually absolutely need and would be good for your life. Unfortunately, this is all a trick, right? It's a bit like the candy man, right? Playing with the emotion of the kid. You get the candy, but yeah, something will happen to you. Something bad will happen to you. So they push and they use those psychological tricks to push digital and to get you to adopt digital. And unless you actually step back a bit and realize those tricks, you will fall into them. So you need people to adopt digital, but you also need them to fit into a data model. It's a model where basically your body is associated with an ID, so your body will be linked to an ID, and this ID will be linked to some of your personal data. So there will be a dedicated video for this, right? Because although I've been working in the IT sector for a long time, and this is straightforward to me, I totally understand that the fact that your body is linked to an ID and then this ID is linked to your health data, your bank data, your transportation data, the supermarket data, what you buy at the supermarket, is not easy to understand for most people. And I totally agree, right? You actually cannot comprehend how all this data can be so simply linked with each other. But they can. It's just a technological problem that we have solved a long time ago and just need to be implemented. So there will be a dedicated video for that to help you with it. Now, if you understand this perspective and what I'm talking about when I talk about data model, that's fine for you. So let's go on. So why do you think there's actually a rollout of digital ID in multiple countries at the same time? Why do you think it's actually happening now? And some of you may not be aware of it, but yeah, the rollout of digital ID is happening now, just following the pandemic. How surprising. And you've been living without digital ID for a long time, right? And I don't know for you, but for me it was all fine. Yes, I need to present my ID. Yes, it's paper-based, but it's all fine to me. Because I'm not defined by my ID. My ID is just something convenient that will be used in certain situations. And that's it. Otherwise, I don't need to actually use a digital ID everywhere. And whenever I buy or do something, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I didn't need the authorization from anyone to actually do something, walk in the street and stuff like that. But this is coming, unfortunately. So it's happening. This global rollout is per country is happening because they need your body to be linked to a unique ID. If everyone has a unique ID, well, I control the number of people. And I control how many people remain. You think whatever you want to think out of these statements, but you cannot deny that the statement is true. From the moment everyone has a unique ID, I control the number of people, and I control how many people remain. This is a simple, true statement. So I need you to adopt a digital ID, and I want this ID to be linked to other personal data of yours. Your health, and we saw that during the pandemic. What you own. House, flat, land, car, banking account, anything financially related? Why do you think they are actually rolling out digital currencies at the same time? So they won't be just rolling out digital ID, but also digital currencies. And if we take back this thing, right? It's a $20 note, 20 euros more specifically, right? So right now, I can go to the supermarket with that stuff, and then I will buy myself a bar of chocolate, a sandwich, and a few drinks. And my civil servant, well, it doesn't know about it. It doesn't know the what, the bar of chocolate, the sandwich, the few drinks, the when I'm going to the supermarket to get that, and the where, in which supermarket or little shops I get that. And then I pay with this. And there's no traceability, there's no association, there's no link between me, that stuff, and the stuff I get, right? But from the moment you actually implement digital currencies, that stuff, it doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. You understand that, right? It's digital. It's here. It's here, and from the moment I need to use that stuff, which is linked to my digital ID, okay? That stuff, the phone, the money inside, well, call it money, but actually it just become points, right? Make you think that, it's the equivalent of a 20 or not. At the end of the day, it's points. It's really worth nothing. It's just fabricated perception of value. And then from the moment you use that at the supermarket, well, your civil servant know the when, the what, and the where. When did you get that? When did you get the detail of the electronic ticket. Why do you think a lot electronic tickets are becoming more and more prevalent? And the where? Which place? Which supermarket? And is this a problem? I'm asking, is this a problem that your civil servants know the when, the what, and the where? Well, they not only know the when, the what, and the where. It's not just about knowing. They can now define the what, the when, and the where. But yes, because it's digital, I can define where you're gonna buy your stuff. Well, you won't be going to this supermarket because it's too far away, and your carbon emission for your daily quota of carbon emission will be exceeded if you actually take your car and drive 8 kilometers to go to this supermarket. So from now on, you're gonna buy to this supermarket specifically. The where is defined now. The when? Well, you can't use that when you want. It's digital currencies, right? So from now on, you have this, but you need to use it by a certain date, and that's it. If you don't use it, it disappears. What's the reason? There's no reason. I'm just defining it. That's it. And you have nothing to say. What can you say? You need to access the stuff. And the what? Well, do you see those Nutri-Score coming up on the product? Can you link the dots? But they will ask you to get what they want. Okay, those snacks is not good for your health. And actually, those insects, this is pretty good. Why don't you try? Okay, part of these 20 euros need to be allocated to getting insects. And you're gonna eat that. You won't have the choice. Because moving forward, the POS in the supermarket will define also, what you're allowed to buy and what you're not allowed to buy. Everything will be linked, but it's not easy to connect the dots and to really understand how do they do that. That's why there's a specific video on this. And so, oh shit. I didn't think about that. I didn't think that not only they can know what I'm doing, but they can also move to defining what I am doing. And yes, they told you it's convenient, but they didn't tell you that you won't have any choice anymore. And it's coming. Many of you don't actually realize it, but this is what's coming. So you're gonna adopt digital ID. It might be soft at the beginning, but as most of the population adopt it, then it will go full control. It will go full control on whatever you can choose. So the goal of the digital ID is really to control what you do, when you do it, and where you do it. And if every time you need access to a product or service, you need auto-authorization because it's a digital ID, so there's actually digital rights associated to it, then I can mandate whatever you can or cannot do. And the key point is you don't have the choice anymore. And what you can do or cannot do based on what? Who is able to decide for all of the people what they can do or cannot do? What the same people that define for all the people what they can do or cannot do during the pandemic? Global institution, the UN, but mostly the people behind the curtain who pull the strings, right? And define what they want or they don't want. People like Bill Gates. Well, I don't like that. And I think it shouldn't be in this way. So let me use and leverage the global institution that I finance or own to push my message And moving forward, we're gonna roll out digital IDs, and your access to things, to the what, to the where, to the when, will be gated by the usage of a digital ID. And that's it. It will be like this. So really pause a minute and see the contrast between what you are able to do now, but what you will not be able to do next. And I know it's difficult, but I want you to use the same technique as we use in some of the videos, where you need to envision that, okay, I've got this 20 euro, or my money in this is linked to my ID. And then, so I can no longer go and buy the stuff when I want to buy them. The place where I need to buy the stuff is defined, so I don't have this choice anymore, meaning that I also need to go through large supermarket. I cannot deal directly with local producers unless I want to actually bypass the system and go out of the system. But then if I want to go out of the system, I need to use another thing, because there is no more, where is it? This has been removed from circulation, so there's no more actually coins, there's no more banknotes, everything is digital. So what do I use to actually trade with this person? What, do I come back to bartering? How do I do this? Or yeah, you see the thinking process. You see, do spend some time. You are stuck. You don't have the choice anymore. And how much do you value this choice that you have right now? And yes, if the people that choose for you were willing your well-being, okay, maybe I'm ready to actually accept this system because I know that they are people that can be trusted and accept and are actually pursuing my well-being. But is this correct? Is this a correct statement and assumption that these people who own the system will actually, you can trust them, and the first thing they want is to actually, their priority and what they are actually noted and the values they receive is based on how much well-being they create for you? It's for you to answer the question. I will not answer it for you, but draw your own conclusion, and based on that, decide what you should be doing or what you should not be doing. So the problem is not the adoption of the digital ID. And you will very likely see that they will create again a category of anti-ID or anti-digital ID or anti-digital to flag people who ask you to think about digital ID and whether or not it's the good thing for you. So the problem, again, is not about digital ID. Technology, as I always say, it is purely neutral. The problem is what you do out of it. The problem is the mindset behind it. And if behind it you've got people that you cannot trust, that behind it you've got a system which is fully centralized, because this is the case, right? Everything will be centralized. That's the reason why you already see some large corporations like Microsoft, for instance, centralizing the research around this, making sure that the data are centralized. So everything is centralized. It's already a bad signal. It tells you that a few will centralize and get access to all this data, stuff like that. When I told you earlier in the video about everyone has a digital ID, you control the number of people, you know how many people remain, this will be centralized data. It's not for everyone to access that. Draw your own conclusion. What do you do with this? How do you control people? Yes. So there's also a problem where they ask you for full transparency. So they tell you we need you to have a digital ID that will enable also transparency, but they provide strictly no transparency about what they do. You just need to see, for instance, the contract between the global institution, governments, and a big pharma company during the pandemic. everything was almost blacked out, right? So when you cannot access anything, any data, any transparency from them, but they ask you for full transparency, it's a bad signal, right? So I do hope that this video helped you to connect some dots. I did it on purpose to be a bit slower than usual because it's very important to understand the connection between the stuff, right? Population control. Then you need to actually have tools for it, right? And you're gonna use digital. So what you do is that you create a problem that push people toward digital. At the same time, you use psychological tactic to hype and put emotion into digital, right? And then you get people to adopt digital. Then as the people adopt digital, you also digitize assets, cash, so money, banknotes. So you remove this from the circulation so that you associate the digital ID to what people own. At the same time, you can connect that to the ownership. So people owning flats, houses. As you want to go toward a society, Schwab mentioned it clearly, the World Economic Forum mentioned it clearly, the UN mentioned it clearly, that doesn't own anything, then you can actually remove ownership pretty easily. As you get the access of the people toward any service or goods through the digital ID, because you are obliged to use this to transact, to store any kind of value, then you actually set the rules. I can define your access to whatever I want. So yes, you can go toward digital ID, but you will see quickly that this is going toward this way. And then you will ask yourself, well, how can I start bypassing this stuff? And you will see that it's not easy. It won't be easy. There will be a way, but they will tell you that it's illegal to bypass the stuff. Of course. It's exactly during the pandemic the same thing, right? It's illegal to bypass anything, right? And from there, what do you do? Well, so what do I suggest you in the first place? Well, my position is don't adopt digital ID as long as there's no full transparency, there's no full understanding of what it will be used for. They ask you to adopt it, they never describe you how it will be used. Of course, they don't talk about it, and they won't accept any question about it. So, we've got the wrong people behind a tool. I think we don't need that tool in the first place, or if we need it, we need to set it up at people's level. It needs to be fully decentralized. I am actually for a form of ID to actually transact with the people. I am totally against the current mindset of full control that is behind it. It's not just full control, it's also potentially depopulation. And this is concerning and worrying. Thank you. I hope the video helped you to connect some dots. Feel free to reach out for any question, and we'll continue to provide great content for you. Cheers.